It's non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside. Non-stop rock talk. It's non-stop rock talk with Tyson Bryden. Come on for the ride. We'll take you inside.
Welcome to Non-Stop Rock Talk with Tyson Bryden. On today's show, I'm very happy to welcome singer, songwriter Kevin Steele. Welcome, Kevin. How are you doing?
How you doing, man?
I'm good.
I'm doing great, Tyson.
Good.
Got a new album coming out.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
I'm pretty excited myself.
Yeah, no, that's great.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and I mean, and we're going to talk about that. I mean, have a few questions in regards to that, but I mean, the brand new album is entitled One Thing Left to Do, which I think is kind of cool because, I mean, the first Roxx Gang album was Things You've Never Done Before, and this is this kind of like the one thing that's left to do is to do a solo album?
It's quite possible. If you'd asked me not even a year ago, I probably would have told you I was done with all this.
Yeah.
And then I met this cat, Billy Summer, who is guitar player for a couple of bands. You know, these kids these days, they're in 4 bands. He's in a band called Florida. He's in a band called Luxury Maine. And he's like a local Tampa Bay area hotshot guitar player. And I bumped into him at this get-together. And he told me he had been a big fan of Roxx Gang. And that when he was learning to play guitar, he wore out, the Roxx Gang tapes. And so I haven't performed in quite a while, but I never stopped writing songs because, frankly, it's cheaper than therapy.
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
And when Billy found out that I had all these songs laying around, he invited me over to his studio to record a couple of them. And man, we hit it off, and everything came together so quickly and so naturally. All of a sudden, like a couple of songs turned into 5 songs, 5 songs turned into 10 songs. Next thing I knew, I had an album.
That's amazing.
So here we go again.
Yeah, and I didn't mention this album's going to be released on February 27th.
Right.
In terms of the material on the album, how would you kind of categorize it? Is it kind of in the Mojo Gurus vein? Is it Roxx Gang, or is it something totally different than that?
I would say it falls somewhere in between. It's not quite as. It's definitely a rock and roll album. It's not a metal album. It's not a Roxx Gang album, but it's a little more rock and roll, maybe than the Gurus had. The Gurus rock, but we had a lot of like Americana type stuff going on, and this album just runs the gamut. There's rock songs, there's like blues rock songs, there's funk song. I even wrote a country song on it.
Cool.
It's kind of a tongue-in-cheek country, like the Stones doing Faraway Eyes.
Yeah.
It's in the vein.
Yeah. So like a crossover, like cool kind of thing. Because I mean, the Stones doing country, I always thought was a kind of a cool thing.
Yeah. And I've always been a fan of old school, not the, pop music with an accent that they put out these days.
Yeah.
But like old school country, like Hank and George Jones and all the Outlaws, Willie and Waylon, Johnny. So this song was written with those influences in mind, and it's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's called Fingers Crossed.
Cool. That's all the shit I grew up with too, myself, because my dad was a country guy. So the old country, like since the time I was born, that was playing in the house. And then he didn't understand it when I kind of got into the rock thing, and all the bands I was listening to were wearing makeup. So he kind of didn't get that, but, but I can totally relate to that, and that's the stuff that I like. I mean, at that time as a teenager, I wasn't that big on it, but now as as I've grown up, I appreciate it a lot more. So I look forward to hearing that song. That's cool.
Old school country is very soulful, and it's closely related to blues, I think.
I agree with that.
Got the
100%.
Appalachian influence on it, but it's still like soulful, heartfelt music like the blues,
Yeah. Now, the first single, Snake Charmer, I believe, is going to be released on Friday. I think you're doing a premiere of the song tonight at 8:00 or something. I think I saw on Facebook. What can you tell me about that track?
That's a rocker. It's, as the title implies, it's a song about seduction, and it's got a groove. It's rock, but it's got kind of a slow, sexy groove. Snake Charmer.
Cool. I like that. Now, so you mentioned recording the album. Like, what was the period of time? How long did it actually take to put it all together?
Man. I've had the good fortune to work with some pretty big producers in the past. I worked with Beau Hill, Roxx Gang, who did Rat, Winter Warren, Alice Cooper. I worked with Jack Douglas, produced Mojo Guru's
cool,
album.
Man.
I mean, Jack Douglas has done the New York Dolls, Cheap Trick, Aerosmith. He was working with John Lennon when he.
That's right.
And the Mojo Gurus.
That's so cool, man. What was,
the thing about that is, though, I have a very clear vision about my songs. And sometimes I feel like I kind of resent it if a producer, when I feel like I'm open to suggestion, and when they're good ideas, I'm all for it. If I think it makes my song better, I'm all for it. But if I don't, I speak up about it. I got to defend it. And what do you say to Jack Douglas?
That's a good point,
if you don't
man.
like one of his ideas.
That's true. That's a good point. I mean, it's Jack Douglas, and you mentioned the catalog, so.
Right. It's it's a little intimidating, but you got to say something. And we kind of butted heads. I never went into a project so excited and left so disappointed, to be honest.
Oh, that's too bad.
But this album, this guitar player I was telling you about, Billy Summer, me and Billy engineered it. Billy and I co-produced it. It was the first time in my life where I wasn't sitting in a studio looking at a clock going like, oh my God, this is, time is money in these studios,
Yeah.
Everything, it was just so low stress, and everything was just so, I never had a better experience recording an album in all my years as this one.
That's cool. So initially, had it always been that it was going to be a Kevin Steele solo album? Was that kind of the vision?
Yes.
That's cool.
Yes. And, I didn't have to compromise with anybody. It's all me. It's all, when you're in a band with 4 or 5 other guys, compromises have to be made here and there.
Yeah.
And not so this time.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I mean, I was very surprised when I saw just before Christmas that you were putting out this album, and I was like, oh man, that's so cool. I'm excited to hear it. And for those looking to buy the album, where can it be found in terms of, I'm sure it'll be on all the streaming sites, but actual physical copies? You have CDs and then red vinyl, I believe.
And vinyl. Yeah, red vinyl. And it's going to be in stores everywhere. I mean, you'll be able to get it on Amazon. You can go to Target. You can go.
That's awesome.
It's pretty widely distributed.
Now, I did watch the unpacking of the album, and it looks great that you had done. I think that was just before Christmas. Now, in terms of the concept of, who designed and created that? Because that cover looks amazing, and there's kind of that, I think the voodoo thing as well that goes back to almost like the Roxx Gang days as well. So it kind of coincides with you and what throughout your career of the kind of things that you have done.
Yeah, well, I hope so.
Visually.
That's what I was going for.
Cool.
But it's the cover was done. I got a pal that lives right here in St. Petersburg. Lives here locally. His name is Adam Turkel. He's a great artist, and the painting was done from the original artwork was done from a photograph.
Cool.
You know, me on the cover, that was done from a photograph, and then he added all the accoutrements, the tarot cards on the back.
Yeah, those look cool.
The magician and the fool.
Oh,
that
that's
has
cool.
some significance too. The magician, because I think music is the closest thing we have to real magic, because it can totally change your mood. It can put you in a different time, because of nostalgia, you know, a song that you associate with a certain period of your life. So it can move you, it like time travels. It, you know, so the people who make music, magicians to some extent. So that's the magician. The other tarot card is the fool. And that's because if you've been doing this as long as I have been doing it,
I knew you were going to go there.
Fool.
That is awesome, man. That's so cool. So have you actually listened to the vinyl?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds great.
Awesome.
For people who buy this, I don't know much about this. I'm blissfully ignorant about this kind of stuff, but apparently the album was pretty much recorded. We had all the songs done. And just because in making the album, you know, my juices were going, I wrote this song called Don't You Worry About Me in like the 11th hour. You know, the album was really done. I convinced Billy to go into the studio one night. It's just me and him on an acoustic. And it's on the CD as a hidden bonus track.
Okay.
It wouldn't fit on the vinyl. Apparently,
it's too long.
Apparently, there's so many grooves, and then you start losing sound quality.
Yeah, I've heard that.
So they said it could have maybe been put on there, but it possibly would have lost some quality. Didn't want that, but it is on the CD.
Okay. A
bonus track hidden.
So everybody's gonna have to buy the CD and the vinyl then. If you want that extra track,
count me out, man.
That was very good marketing. I like that. No, I'm just kidding. But honestly, no, that's cool. I mean, I'm glad I know that, because now I may be inclined to buy both. I mean, I've already pre-ordered it was funny because I'm up in Canada. Amazon.ca didn't have it. So I actually pre-ordered it through Amazon in the US. So it's supposed to come around the release date, but Amazon.ca didn't have it. But I still got a hold of it. So, I mean, I'll have to pay the exchange, but whatever. Doesn't matter.
There's one song is a little different on the album than anything I've done before.
Okay.
There is one ballad, and it's kind of melancholy. It's called I'm having a brain.
No worries.
Oh, it's kind of sad. It's kind of melancholy. As a matter of fact, it's called Sad, Sad Song.
Oh, okay.
Right? So let me tell you this little story.
Sure, man. I'm
talking to the guy who played keyboards on the album one day on the telephone. Before he recorded, we were going over all the songs that he was going to play on, and I was telling him what I was looking for out of him on each song.
Yeah.
And I got to this song and I said, there's one more song, Steve. It's kind of a melancholy song. It's called Sad, Sad Song. And he says, well, what's that about? And I said, well, it's about all the times I let people down in my life, the people I cared about the most, and, misfortunes and missteps and all the mistakes I've made in my life. And Steve said, without missing a beat, so it's a long song.
No way. That was pretty quick and
Steve.
Clever reaction. That was good. That was pretty good. Wow. So is it a long song though, Kevin?
It's a sweet It's yeah, almost had to make a double album.
Well, that's brilliant, man. That's so cool. Now, you're doing an album release party on release day in St. Petersburg, I believe.
Yes.
So you'll be playing. Are you playing material from the album, like the band's
Playing
doing?
the entire album, and maybe a surprise or two.
Cool. Now, who will be in the band?
I got like an all-star lineup of Tampa musicians. The aforementioned Billy Summer on guitar. His other guitar player in his band, Florida, guy by the name of Matt Boyle. He rips.
Cool.
Got a guy, Steve Tanner on drums, Lee Pons on keyboard, and Jim Stevens on bass.
Cool.
And we will be accompanied on the country song by a pedal steel player named Rob Pastore.
Oh, that's cool. You're going to have pedal steel. That's even better. Wow. That's awesome. Now, will you be going on the road to promote this album?
It's kind of, I haven't ruled it out.
Yeah.
I'm looking into some things right now. My brother manages my band.
Yep.
Right. My brother, Brett. And he's looking into some festivals right now. And, you know, I'm getting old, man. It's like when you're 28 and you got to stay in crappy motels and eat crappy food every night and everything. It's like, it's no big deal, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm in my 60s now, and, you know, I don't have as high a tolerance for that stuff. You know?
I don't blame you, man. I'm in my 50s and I feel the same way. So I can totally relate to that, and I understand that. No, that's cool. Have you ever been approached by any of like the M3 to put Roxx Gang back together and do that? Have anyone ever approached you about
A million times.
Really, eh?
Yeah, so I don't really have any interest in doing that.
I don't blame you, because I just listened to one of your other interviews and that was done last year, and I pretty much listened to most of it. And I like what you had said about the fact that, you know, when I was young, putting on makeup, it was cool, and I didn't want to be doing that at 60 years old. I didn't want to be, you know what I mean? And I totally respect that, and I totally understand that, because it like you said, a guy in spandex with his gut hanging over his belt just is not as appealing as it is when you're in your 20s.
And even if you look good, look, I have nothing but respect. When I was in high school, I prayed at the altar of Steven Tyler and Joe Perry, right? And I give Steven Tyler much credit that he can still, you know, the physical condition
he's still in great shape. Yeah.
That he can still wear those clothes. But just because you can wear those clothes doesn't mean you should wear those clothes.
That's a good point.
You know, David Bowie, he didn't stay Ziggy Stardust forever.
Yeah.
You know, Mick Jagger doesn't wear spangled, you know, crushed velvet jumpsuits anymore.
No.
You know?
No, and you're right. I mean, I think of, you're talking about Bowie. I mean, I remember in the late 80s when he did the Tin Machine, and he came, I think he was wearing, and even in the 80s, he was wearing suits at that point, you know, and Rod Stewart, the same thing.
Yeah, we all grow up, and it's not just the visual aspect of it either. It's like songs that I wrote in my 20s, like I would feel ridiculous at my age singing like Too Cool for School.
I was going to say Too Cool for School.
Scratch My Back.
That's true, yeah.
Those were songs that were great. You know, that's what I was living and feeling and writing about when I was in my mid-20s, you know?
Yeah.
That's not my reality anymore, you know?
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's funny, dating back to the 80s, my first exposure to Roxx Gang was on a show called The Power Hour up here in Canada on Much Music. So they had played the video for No Easy Way Out. And I was kind of, you know, I was young. I was probably 13, 14 years old. So I was kind of mesmerized by the look of the band. But I mean, I was 14 years old. So that's what was cool and hip at the time. But right. I will say this, that opening riff to this day, the opening riff to that song still gets me to No Easy Way Out. That opening riff still gets me to this day. I still think it's like one of those, to me, it's one of those iconic guitar riffs from, it could be from any era. It doesn't matter. It was just a really, I always thought the vibe of that song was really cool and loved the song. I loved the vocal. And to me, that song is kind of timeless. But I mean, I totally get it if you're not out playing it now. But to me, it's one of those songs that it still pumps me up.
Right. Well, you know, there's a couple songs on that first album that we could get away with doing, maybe with a little rework. But like, you know, I'm just saying in general, that's not the sound I'm interested in having anymore. It's just, you know, I'm decades older. Like my musical tastes have matured. My writing I like to think is matured, you know?
Yeah. No, and I totally love that. I love the fact that you're able to recognize that. And then the interview also, you mentioned that you are a big collector of blues albums, that you have a ton of blues albums.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing.
It's just started, I got interested at early stage, like I'd say when I was in high school, in my mid to late teens, when I really started building up an album collection and stuff. And, you know, I would see these names on, you know, Rolling Stones or Led Zeppelin or Allman Brothers albums, you know, I'd hear these names like Howlin' Wolf and Muddy Waters. It really intrigued me, you know. And I would see that these songs by my rock idols, you know, a lot of them were written by these old blues guys.
Right.
You know, that, you know, they may have put their spin on it, but I wanted to hear the root.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to hear where it started. That's what got me interested. And then, you know, the blues, those guys, man, the Chicago blues, the Delta blues, and then the Chicago blues, like, I mean, that's where rock and roll came from, you know?
Yeah. When I was a teenager, I had a friend who he was older than me, but he was big into the music, and as I was, and there was a guy that owned a record store, and they brought up this old blues artist that had been hidden away in the mountains somewhere for years. And they brought him up here a few times to play. I'm sure he's passed away since then, but I went out to see him, and it was like the most phenomenal thing. It was just so cool. It was different, right, than what everything else that was going on. So I've always been influenced in some way by the blues, and there's so much rock and roll that we listen to, like you mentioned, like Zeppelin, Aerosmith, the Stones, that are influenced by all this blues stuff.
So many songs that you would never, you know, Van Halen, Ice Cream Man. That's an old John song.
Isn't Walking the Dog an old blues song too by Aerosmith? Yeah. Right.
One of your countrymen, Pat Travers.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, out go the lights.
That's right.
Old Little Walter song. You know, and then, I mean, Zeppelin, Nobody's Fault But Mine, the Lemon Song. A Whole Lot of Love is based on a Muddy Waters song. The Allman Brothers and the Rolling Stones, you know, there's tons of songs from their catalogs that are Robert Johnson,
right,
Mississippi Fred McDowell. So I always enjoy, you know, songs that I thought were like, it shocked me that the artists that I first heard them by, you know, that's not who wrote them, you know. Then I had to hear who did write it and what it sounded like.
Yeah, I've always been that kind of way. It's like Hard to Handle, hearing the original of Hard to Handle that the Black Crowes did as well. It was a blues song too, right?
Yeah. Yeah, rhythm and blues, I guess. Otis.
Was it Otis Red? No.
Who was it?
I can't remember. Yeah, and I think even on the Salty Dog album there was like the song, what was Spoonful was on that album too. I think that was an old Willie Dixon song or something like that as well.
Yep. Willie Dixon wrote it, Howlin' Wolf recorded it, and then Cream did it.
Yeah.
Crossroads is a Robert Johnson song.
Yeah. So your blues collection must be pretty extensive then.
It is.
That's awesome. Is it on
See my- it's
vinyl?
ridiculous, my record collection. It's ridiculous.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah.
And it's mostly blues stuff and probably like 70s, I would assume 70s rock stuff as well.
Yeah. That's that's what I grew up on. So,
yeah. And were you, and I think I recall you mentioning this, like you were big into the glam scene of the 70s as well. You were kind of digging that as well.
Yeah. So that kind of, that's always been kind of a double-edged thing for Roxx Gang suffered from bad timing. Like when Roxx Gang came out, before we ever got signed, I would say it was the early to mid 80s, right in there, when we started getting some attention. When we were really a band.
Yeah.
And I was living down here in Florida, and I had to drag my bandmates kicking and screaming into the glam scene. I was this kid from Cleveland, Ohio.
Yeah.
And I grew up on T-Rex and Mott the Hoople and David Bowie and the New York Dolls and Iggy and Lou Reed. And I moved down to Florida, and it was like a total culture shock,
Really?
Oh man. And so then, I'm making friends, and they're listening to like, Leonard Skinner and Marshall Tucker and the Allman Brothers.
Okay.
And nothing wrong with that music. I love that music too.
I do too.
But when I had my own band, I wanted to have a glam. When I was a teenager, I wanted to be Mark Bolan. Okay.
Yeah.
And so, my Florida bandmates, they didn't want to put on that eyeliner and stuff, that sissy stuff, And see, I finally talked them into it. And as soon as they saw how many girls they started getting, it was like they couldn't put the makeup on fast enough.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's so cool. Like, I mean, visually, when I saw the first band, the first time I saw the band was like, okay, this is cool. This looks, you guys looked, that part of the glam band, and I thought it was cool.
Well, there's two things about it. Number one, so we came out in the at that time, there was no MTV. There was no MTV when Roxx Gang started. Right?
Yeah.
So the masses had not been exposed to Motley Crue or Poison or any of the Sunset Strip bands. Okay.
Yeah.
And we actually predated it. I mean, they might have been starting too, but nobody knew about them, right?
Yeah.
So living in are you allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, go for it, man. Say what you want to say.
Bumfuck, Florida. We didn't get signed till put it this way. I was in the studio making things you never done before, and somebody was doing guitar tracks or drum tracks or something, and I was sitting in the lobby watching MTV, and I saw the first Nirvana video and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. So all that stuff actually came out before our first album came out. So we didn't realize it at the time, but the rug had already been pulled out from under us before we even got started, So that, had we not lived in Florida, or my band was dirt poor too. If we had the means, like a lot of bands move out to California or to New York or whatever to get, discovered or whatever, because that's where the music industry is.
Yeah.
So, but we couldn't do that. So by the time we got signed, and then people saw us and they thought, well, it's just another glam band jumping on the Sunset Strip bandwagon, when not true. My influences were not any of that. My influences were 70s glam bands, and we were doing it before a lot of the bands that became very popular with that look from California. We were doing it before them.
Well, I mean, for instance, I have the album cover here, looking at it right now. Wade Hayes looks more like a 70s, Johnny Thunders almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
you can see that 70s influence more than that 80s things. You guys didn't look like Poison at all. And
our songs were not, we weren't doing the unskinny bop.
No,
we were live fast, die young.
That's right.
Red rose on my grave.
And I mean, Red Rose, for instance, I mean, from a content of substance, that was a little bit more, there was more to it than that, than what the other bands were doing, I think.
Yeah, we were not really one of those pop metal band, you know, whatever you want to call it, hair metal, pop metal, glam
Right.
metal, whatever, you know. And another thing that really kind of sticks in my craw is that in the 80s, I think it was once Quiet Riot exploded with that Bang Your Head and everything. And then
Metal
all
Health.
the labels were just, it was a mad signing frenzy. Everybody was looking for a band that looked like that and had that kind of guitar sound. And they signed a million bands. And like, I can say in all modesty, if you look at that album you just had, my band could carry that look. There was so many bands in that era that could not carry. You look at Twisted Sister, they look like a bunch of truck drivers.
Yeah, I know.
Drag,
I cringe when I see, I have to, I'm not going to lie. I mean, I like Twisted Sister, but I cringe when I see like that makeup. It was comical almost.
It was clown makeup, and they were big, hairy New York truck driving looking dudes.
That's right. That's right.
They did not look good, and you know, you have to have a certain look to carry that glam.
Yeah, I mean, it got attention, I guess, but it did. You're right though when you say these New York City like truck driving dudes, and when they do that other look where they'd be wearing jean jackets and jeans, it looked a little bit more believable than that over the top with the makeup. And yeah, I totally agree with you.
But everybody, they just felt they had to, you know, look that way then. And I don't know, we just kind of got lumped in with all these bands that I felt like we had nothing in common with.
I think it's cool that you were from Tampa though. I think that's one of the cool elements about Roxx Gang is you're from a place that didn't really get a lot of, you know, I'm sure it didn't get a lot of attention. Like I think you had mentioned Sabotage was from Florida and there was another band, but it's kind of cool that you guys were from that area. So you're bringing a different type of perspective to the whole thing, to the music business.
Right. And I guess that's where, you know, when I said I came down here to Florida and started listening to Lynyrd Skynyrd and the Allman Brothers, I guess those kind of influences seeped in. That's where I get a song like Ball and Chain.
Right. Yeah, which is cool. And I mean, I think I remember the first, when you guys were announced, when Roxx Gang was announced, they said, these guys are from Florida. And I was like, oh, Florida band. Okay, that's cool. Because everything else was mostly LA. And then you had a few bands from Philly and New York and whatnot. But it was just a cool dynamic. And I think it was cool that you guys had signed with Virgin Records as well, because I don't think they had a lot of.
We were their first hard rock signing. I mean, since that time, the Stones and Bowie and Iggy have all been on, but back then we were their first hard rock sign, which again was a Virgin. They had lots of money and they got us, you know, they basically said, who do you want to produce your, and most of the guys in the band were big fans of Kix, and they had put out the album Kix. Midnight Dynamite, and we thought it sounded great, and we wanted Beau Hill.
Yeah.
And they got him. But we had to wait for him almost like 6 months, maybe even a little longer. So that pushed our album, the release, back. And then, like when we made our first video, Nigel Dick produced our first video. He's the guy who produced Sweet Child of Mine, which
That's
broke,
so cool.
You know, so like, but on the other hand, being their first hard rock signing, they really didn't know what to do with us. I don't feel like we were promoted properly.
Yeah, and I was going to ask that because I was curious, because here's this label that you're their first rock band, so you're probably going into it thinking, okay, well, we're going to be a priority. It wasn't like being on Geffen Atlantic or MCA where you were fighting for a piece of that promotional pie, like of, you know, having that many bands where you're the only hard rock band. So okay, we're like, okay, we must be in a good position then.
Yeah, but there's some truth in that. But the other side of it is, you know, they were kind of this at the time kind of an artsy fartsy label.
Right.
And along comes Roxx Gang, and like, you should have when we walked into when we went out to California to record the album.
Yeah.
We walked into the offices of Virgin in our gear,
like full makeup and boots and leathers and whatnot.
Well, we didn't wear full makeup out on the streets and stuff.
Yeah.
But we just looked more like a bunch of, delinquents, I guess.
Okay.
A bunch of criminals compared to what they were used to dealing with. It was a harder look. And then, when they saw us in our, they came out. We were doing a showcase in Clearwater, Florida, and Virgin Records was there, and so was Virgin Music, which is a publishing company.
Yeah.
And the guy from Virgin Music, he absolutely loved us, and he told the label people, I'm signing them to a publishing deal, whether you sign them to a record deal or not. And then that clinched it. And then, we look like cartoon characters back then. I think there was a certain appeal to that, and we were just so over the top. But I think we like for instance, one of our A&R guys was Lyrique Weymouth, whose sister is Tina Weymouth from the Talking Heads.
Okay, that's cool.
And when we were getting ready to make our second album, we demoed out all the songs that would become the Voodoo You Love, our second album. And we gave them to our A&R guy. And he came back and he goes, oh, it's good, but you're not pushing the envelope. This is what you need. You remember that song? I think the band was called the Divinals. Is it the Divinals who had that song, When I Think of You, I Touch Myself?
I Touch Myself. They wanted you to write a song like that.
Lyrique played that song for us. And I was like, these people don't have a clue,
Wow. I would say, my reaction would be that is one of the things we've never done before and we're not going to do. That's crazy.
I'll tell you what, I want to take the vinyl song and why don't you go over there and touch yourself?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, wow.
Because Roxx Gang doesn't do music.
That sounds like a label that's not understanding the artist whatsoever or getting it. You know what I mean? Like,
we did the Scratch My Back video, and that was produced by Ralph Simon, who had done all the early LA Guns videos like Sex Action and
those are good videos. Yeah.
And I had the guy from Virgin tell me, we're going to cut out a couple of your close-ups because he told me, I don't want this to sound, I'm just going to say what he said. Yeah. He said, people are never going to believe that voice is coming from that face.
That's crazy.
He thought I looked too good. And I was saying, do you realize who we're selling our music, who our music is aimed at?
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. So they didn't really get it. Now,
it was a battle over there.
And that's unfortunate, right? It's because you're thinking when you sign a record deal, okay, we're in good hands. You're just hoping for the best and that this music is going to get out and people are going to pick up on it and they're going to dig it. And that's all you're wanting. And the fact that you're hoping, this is going to keep going and we're going to do more than one album.
But once, I'm not kidding you, I don't know how it was in Canada, but in the States, almost overnight, it was like the program directors at all the radio stations said, we're not playing this kind of music anymore. We're playing this kind of music. And it was, Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam. And
that was totally the opposite.
Overnight, all those, however you want to label that music, it was no longer in favorite.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that up in Canada because, as I mentioned, I had seen the video. But the album itself, I never saw it in the record store. So I don't know how the promotion was up here in Canada. I had never seen it. It wasn't until the early 2000s that I found it when Paris Records re-released it on CD. And I was able to actually get it.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? Like, but you weren't the only band. There was a lot of bands like that, and it was a lot of the stuff. The material was just hard to find. You never saw it. So a lot of bands became elusive in Canada. That you were just like, you've heard of them, you'd see the videos, and that would be it. It was crazy.
Yeah. But I don't know. Then Roxx Gang. I finally got to be too much. It was like, that's when we started morphing into the
Mojo Gurus.
We played a party one time. We took over a bar in St. Petersburg that was called the Voodoo Lounge, and it was my old lady's birthday. And we went in there, and it was a little dive bar. And we said, I told the guys, okay, tonight we are called the Mojo Guru Country and Western Rhythm and Blues Review. And we played a bunch of blues songs, and we had a freaking ball, man. And Roxx Gang name and our image and it was getting to be like baggage, like, in the 2000, it was like that music was over.
Yeah.
And I was really grown out of it, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
I was getting bluesier and more. I wanted a more rhythm and blues based rock and roll, like the Rolling Stones or the Faces, or the guys I grew up on. And I was disenchanted with the whole thing because I felt like there was this huge backlash against the whole quote unquote hair metal scene, and we got lumped in with those. I never even felt we were part of that scene, but we got lumped in with it and suffered from the backlash. And then I wanted to do more. And I had a guitar player like Wade Hayes, who was a shredder, that, kind of pulled my songs into that 80s direction.
Right.
Like in my head, Ball and Chain and Fastest Gun in Town were a little bit more, Stonesy, Aerosmithy, old Aerosmith kind of in my head. And then Wade Hayes would get a hold of
Yeah, and that's funny because like on the earlier demos, the material is a little bit different. Like it's not as shreddy. That compilation that came out, I know I had bought that with the 3 discs on it. And I remember, I think F&A Records did it. And
yeah, see, I founded Roxx Gang with this guitar player named Eric Carroll.
Yes.
And he died in an accident right before we were just getting national press. We just got a big write-up in Kerrang. Things were happening. Have you ever heard of Carl Kennedy? You ever heard of the Rods?
I don't
band,
know.
The Rods, 3-piece.
Heard of the Rods, yeah.
He's the drummer for the Rods, and he had produced, at that time, he had produced all these heavy bands like Anthrax and Urge Overkill, and he was looking for something that had a little more of a widespread appeal. And he got a hold of our demo, and he came down to Florida. He was going to come down to Florida to produce what would become. We had an album length demo called Love 'Em and Leave 'Em.
Yeah.
Paris ended up releasing it as a CD later on. But that's what really kind of got us signed to Virgin.
Yeah.
That and our live show. So Eric and I, half the songs that are on Things You Never Done Before, there's 10 songs, 5 of them Eric and I wrote. And those songs that you're talking about on the early demos, I would have to see which exact songs you're talking about, but chances are that's him playing on the guitar, and that's the difference.
Yeah, if I have to pull it out again. I haven't listened to it in quite a long time, but I just remember putting it on and thinking, wow, this is kind of a different vibe. And like you said, it is more Aerosmith-ish, and I dug it. Like I said, I love the first album, but I also love that too. And sometimes it's nice to go back and hear how things evolve, like listening to Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, hearing how those songs evolved, because there's some, even on Scratch My Back and No Easy Way Out, there's some vocal subtleties that are a little bit different as well, of ways that you're projecting your vocal as well. And and it's kind of cool to hear those things sometimes, to the evolution of a song going into a major label release. And maybe at the same time there's a producer influence on some of those things as well.
Yeah, Beau definitely. I liked Beau, and we got along, and I thought he had some great. He definitely made some great suggestions on some of the songs, but for like harmonies, vocal harmonies, and some keyboard parts, we didn't have a keyboard player, and but he also kind of polished it a little too. I felt like Roxx Gang had a more of a raw sound than what was presented on that first album.
Yeah, which, especially if you're a 70s guy, if you were wanting to be more, because it worked for Guns N' Roses, right? That more 70s type of thing. And I could see that, and you can hear the difference in those demos. Did Beau ever bring in any mystery musicians like he had on other albums?
No. He did bring in Kip Winger, and his brother did some backup, did some harmonies. And do you remember a girl singer named Fiona?
Yeah, that was his wife, wasn't it? Was he married to her?
I don't know. At the time, they weren't married. I don't know if I guess they got married.
Or maybe his girlfriend. I can't remember.
There's a song on Things You Never Done Before called Need Your Sex.
Yeah.
And you hear a bunch of, that's me and Fiona in the vocal booth moaning.
I'm going to have to listen to that again.
Through that song with Beau in the control room. I don't know. It was kind of awkward.
That would be awkward. That's totally awkward. Wow. Oh, that's cool though. That's awesome. Yeah, because I mean, I know on that Kicks record you mentioned, he brought in a Mike Slamer to play guitar on it, and those guys didn't even know. So luckily, that didn't happen to you guys.
Yeah, we had no outside musicians, but we did have some reinforcements on the vocal harmonies.
How did you feel about that?
It didn't bother me a bit.
Yeah.
That's standard play, and all. When you hear Aerosmith, when you go see Aerosmith and they all get around the microphone and do that harmony in Love in an Elevator.
Yep. Yeah.
It's all sampled. Like, that's not them singing live. Like,
yeah,
you wouldn't believe what they do. And how, like, Beau told me that Motley Crue would have a guy come in and do a ghost vocal, sing the songs, and then Vince would come in and sing on top of it. And I was saying, no way. And he'd go, Kevin, this is Hollywood.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
Now, I don't know. That's what he told me.
Yeah.
I have no, allegedly.
I kind of believe it though. I mean, Vince Neil has gotten a bad rap for vocalization, his vocals, for a long time. And there's always things about, like that he wasn't great in the studio. So, I mean, early on, I think he's gotten a lot better. But yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, there's a lot of things that come out over the years of, guest players, and Jack Douglas, for instance, using another guitar player on Get Your Wings,
Right.
On Train, I think it was on Train Kept a Rolling. Like, and then that baffled me, because this is like Joe Perry and Brad Whitford. I'm like, you need to bring somebody else in? Like, really?
You don't know what these producers, Here's Jack. I came into the studio one day, and Jack had taken the hose off a big industrial vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
And he had one end of it at his mouth, and the other down on the floor. There was a microphone down by the end, and he was going along, going with a drum track that we had already recorded. He was going along with the kick drum, with the bass drum.
Really?
Into this hose.
Wow. How did it end up sounding?
It sounded great, but I would have never thought of these guys.
Yeah. Did Beau have you do anything? Did he do anything weird like that?
No, no.
No way.
Beau played. I think Beau. The only outside musician that's done things you've never done before is if you hear keyboards in any song. That's, I believe, Beau or maybe one of the Winger brothers,
Yeah.
because we didn't have a keyboard player. We weren't really interested in having one at the
Yeah.
time, but it complemented some of the songs.
But you didn't need it live though. It only built,
No.
did it just add a bit of color to the songs?
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't like one of those things where you're hearing this keyboard line and you're like, well, how are we going to do that live? We're going to have a keyboard player now, kind of thing.
Right. But also in the 80s, a lot of bands, like if you ever see a band in the 80s and the drummer's wearing headphones,
Yeah.
that's because he's playing along to a click track, and he's
Yep.
probably got sampled. Well, back in those days, it was a little more, they've come a long way.
Oh, big time.
Back then, there would be cassettes in like a 4-track machine,
Yep.
and the drummer would have to stay on that click track because there would be sampled vocals or keyboards or whatever. And it was a very common practice.
Yeah, or they had a keyboard player hidden, like the bigger bands, a keyboard player hidden behind the stage.
Right.
That kind of thing. And I get it. I get it. I just, I'm not a big keyboard guy, but I mean, it has its place, and depending on what band it is and where it is. But
I could never understand. I think it's kind of shitty myself because, like, if you look at the Stones, Nicky Hopkins or Chuck Leavell or whoever they have playing, they might not have a spotlight on them, but they're on stage.
right. Yeah.
Yeah. They
Yeah.
might not feature them. They're on stage in the back. At least let the guy on freaking stage.
Well, exactly. But
hiding behind a curtain like the Wizard of Oz.
But the cool thing with the Stones is that that's actual like guys playing like piano, and like it doesn't sound so cheesy as 80s keyboards did. You know what I mean? Like there's kind of a coolness to it of like, it's like I always say that, like with Deep Purple, John Lord, like there's a coolness to the way he plays the organ.
Right. And that's what you're going to hear on One Thing Left to Do is some honky tonk piano.
Love that.
And there's a song called Better Day Coming that I wrote. It's not a religious song. It is a song about hope.
Yeah.
Okay. But I wrote it in a big ass, almost like a gospel arrangement.
Cool.
But it's really not. When I'm singing There's a Better Day Coming, I'm not talking about the hereafter. Okay.
Yeah.
It's just a song of hope. Everybody needs hope. Everybody, especially in this day and age. You got to have hope,
So true. So true. I can't wait to hear that one. Is there any B3 Hammond or anything like that on the album,
Yeah.
Kevin? Yeah.
B3 and piano.
Man, I love B3. Like that's, I honestly do. That's just one of those things that gets me. It's like, I hear a song with that in it and I'm like, you know what? This song just went to the next level for me. It's just one of those really cool things. There used to be a band here in Canada. They actually had in their band, they were a 4-piece band. They had a bass player, a guitar player who sang, and a B3 Hammond organ and a drummer. And they play clubs where they have to take this B3 up the stairs, the 4 guys carrying this big B3. But the sound of this band was just, you couldn't compare it to anything. It was just like, man, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's that 70s, Greg Allman to, you mentioned John Lord.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Now, Kevin, I want to thank you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. And it's been a pleasure for me as well. And it was great talking about, so many different things and your influence as well. It's great to hear about that stuff. Is there anything else you'd like to add before I let you go?
I think we've pretty much covered.
I just want
people to buy One Thing Left to Do, and if anybody's hearing this in Florida, I want you to come to our record release party because That's gonna be a gas, man.
I wish I was down there because I would come to that. That sounds
We're
amazing.
gonna tear the roof off that place.
That's awesome. So, and before we do let you go, when was the last time you actually played live? Has it been a while?
It's been quite a while. I went through some. I wasn't really going to talk about this, but
Oh, you
I
don't
had
have to,
some-
man.
Well, I had some health issues. Let's put
Okay.
it that way.
Okay.
That kept me off stage for a number of years. When the Mojo Gurus were taking a little hiatus, and our guitar player, Doc Lovett, had family in New Orleans. And he went out there and he was going to stay. He had a brother there. And so he decided he was going to live there for a little while, and he OD'd. Okay.
Oh man, I'm sorry to hear that.
So that was at the time, I just didn't, you replace a guitar player, it changes the whole sound of your band.
Yeah.
Okay. Or it can. And I didn't have it in me at the time to go through the whole thing of breaking in and teaching a guitar player the whole catalog and everything. And it was like, maybe it's just time to pack this away, And then I had, actually, what the hell? I was on my laptop one day and I got this sensation on my arm, and it turned out a blood vessel had broken in my head. I had what's called a brain bleed.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like a stroke, right?
Yeah. Oh man.
Well, before that, I got diagnosed with they found a brain tumor, and it was benign, thank God. But I still had to have brain surgery, and I was waiting for my surgery. I was at home trying to wrap my head around the fact that I was going to have freaking brain surgery, right?
Right.
And I got this brain bleed, and my brain surgeon told me they were completely unrelated. I just hit the brain jackpot on the.
What? Wow.
So I got really lucky I recovered from my stroke within, I was home from the hospital in 3 days, but it took me a couple of weeks to get my legs back and stuff. I had to walk with like a walker and stuff at first, and then I'm 100% back now.
Good.
And then I had to have brain surgery, and it was an ordeal between the two of them. I was in a lot of pain for a while, and in the hospital, and they go, "We can give you Tylenol, we can give you oxycodone, or we can give you morphine." And I'm like, I'm a rock singer, man. I got a pretty high tolerance to drugs. Like, you better give me the morphine. Tylenols aren't going to do shit.
No kidding.
You just cut a hole in my head.
Yeah. Holy
shit. Now I got a piece of titanium in there.
Wow, man. Well, you know what?
I've been assured it won't set off the airport.
But if it does, you know why. But you know what? That's amazing. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. And I am so glad that you're still here and you're making music again.
You too, brother.
Oh man. I mean, that's a way to end an interview, but that is, man, I wish you the best of luck with the album, and I hope it does really well and people get out and you're out playing, and if things happen in that way and that you get out to do some live shows, I think that would be amazing. But I am excited for the album. I can't wait for it to show up on my doorstep.
I think from this conversation, the little bit of insight I've got into you and your taste, I think you're going to dig it.
Yeah, it sounds like I'm really gonna. I can't wait to sink my teeth into that, my ears as well. So, yeah, no, that's going to be awesome, Kevin. Again, thank you so much, and
thank you.
And you have yourself a great night, and best of luck, man.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay. Cheers.
See you guys.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.